Most people believe money is something you pursue, chase, or hunt, but that belief quietly keeps them stuck. When you chase money, you communicate lack, urgency, and dependence. Markets do not reward desperation, they reward contribution. Money is not emotional, personal, or moral. It is simply a reaction to value delivered. When you understand this, your focus shifts away from chasing paychecks and toward creating outcomes. Instead of asking how much something pays, you ask how much it helps. The moment your attention moves from earning to serving, money begins responding automatically through consistent action and intentional problem solving daily. Value is the measure of how effectively you remove pain or create gain for others. The greater the pain you can remove, the more people are willing to exchange resources for your solution. This is why skill development matters more than working longer hours. Hours are limited, but value can be multiplied. One person can work all day and still remain replaceable, while another solves one critical problem and becomes indispensable. Wealth grows when your contribution becomes rare, specialized, and meaningful. The marketplace pays premiums for clarity, certainty, and results, not for effort or exhaustion, time, energy, intention, and impact. Chasing money trains you to react, while creating value trains you to lead. Reactive people wait for instructions, opportunities, or permission. Value creators build frameworks, systems, and solutions before anyone asks. They anticipate needs and position themselves ahead of demand. This is why wealth often looks effortless from the outside. What people call luck is usually preparation meeting opportunity. When you focus on value, you stop asking who will hire you and start asking who you can help. That question alone separates consumers from creators and employees from owners in every economy worldwide, consistently across industries, cultures, markets, generations, timelines. When income depends on time, your growth is capped by the clock. When income depends on value, your growth expands with creativity and skill. This is why the wealthiest people think in terms of leverage. They ask how one action can impact many people simultaneously. Teaching, systems, products, and processes allow value to travel without constant effort. Instead of repeating the same task, they design outcomes that repeat themselves. Money follows scalability because scalability multiplies service. The more people your value reaches, the louder money responds without negotiation or persuasion pressure. Force, hype, manipulation, shortcuts, promises, chasing, begging, hoping, pleading. Value creation requires responsibility, not entitlement. The world does not owe compensation, it responds to contribution. Once you accept this, excuses lose power. Complaints about economy, background, or timing fade when replaced with skill building. Every increase in income is preceded by an increase in usefulness. This is a universal principle operating across industries and generations. Those who embrace it gain control over results, while those who ignore it surrender outcomes to chance. Control comes from preparation, and preparation begins with choosing growth over comfort daily, consistently, intentionally, patiently, strategically, deliberately, repeatedly, humbly, boldly, steadily, wisely, long-term, focused, disciplined, resilient. People who chase money often compromise values, clarity, and confidence. People who create value build trust, reputation, and authority. Trust accelerates transactions because it reduces resistance. When others trust your solution, price becomes secondary. This is why wealthy individuals invest heavily in mastery. Mastery removes doubt. It creates certainty in communication and conviction in delivery. The more certain you are about the value you provide, the less convincing you need to do. Money responds to certainty because certainty signals leadership, competence, and reliability in uncertain environments. Everywhere, consistently, professionally, ethically, calmly, confidently, repeatedly, visibly, audibly, measurably, sustainably, universally, predictably, long-term. When your focus shifts to value, competition becomes irrelevant. You stop racing and start differentiating. Instead of copying others, you deepen your own understanding and expression. Original value attracts attention without advertising desperation. This is why alignment matters. Your strengths, experiences, and insights combine into a unique solution no one else can duplicate. Money flows to uniqueness because uniqueness removes comparison. When people cannot compare you, they Choose you. This principle frees you from price wars and burnout. You are no longer selling time. You are delivering transformation consistently, sustainably, predictably, ethically, profitably, meaningfully, globally, digitally, personally, professionally, strategically, long-term. Understanding that money responds to value places responsibility back in your hands. It removes blame and restores power. If income is low, value can rise. If results are limited, contribution can expand. This mindset transforms frustration into strategy. You begin asking better questions and making stronger decisions. Growth stops being accidental and becomes intentional. Every day becomes an opportunity to refine usefulness. The pursuit ends and the process begins. Value creation is not a tactic. It is a way of operating that reshapes outcomes across time and circumstances deliberately, consciously, patiently, persistently, wisely, courageously, proactively, creatively, responsibly, consistently, sustainably, purposefully. Most people grow up believing that effort guarantees reward. But the marketplace does not operate on fairness or sympathy. It operates on results. You can work endlessly, sweat daily, and still remain underpaid if your effort does not translate into solutions people want. Effort is invisible unless it produces outcomes. The market does not ask how tired you are or how hard your journey has been. It asks one question only: what problem did you solve and how well did you solve it? Once this truth is understood, frustration turns into strategy and motion turns into direction, clarity replaces confusion, and progress becomes intentional instead of accidental over time. Need does not create value, demand does. Many people believe wanting something badly should qualify them to receive it, but the marketplace does not reward desire, it rewards usefulness. You may need income, opportunity, or recognition, but need alone carries no weight in exchange. When you stop presenting your needs and start presenting solutions, conversations change. People listen differently when you speak from contribution rather than desperation. Need repels leverage, while problem solving attracts attention. This shift requires maturity because it asks you to stop explaining your struggle and start explaining your impact. That change alone elevates your positioning in every interaction, negotiation, and opportunity you encounter daily. Problem solving is the highest form of value creation because it removes friction from other people's lives. The more complex the problem, the fewer people can solve it, and the higher the reward becomes. This is why specialization matters. General effort is common, but precise solutions are rare. When you invest time in understanding one problem deeply, you gain authority. Authority commands compensation because it reduces risk for others. People do not pay for time, they pay for certainty. They pay to avoid mistakes, delays, and confusion. The individual who brings clarity where others feel stuck becomes indispensable regardless of background, age, connections, or starting position in the market. The marketplace is constantly voting with attention and money. It votes for what works. It ignores what does not. This voting system is unemotional and unbiased. Complaints about unfairness do not change outcomes. Adaptation does. Those who say, "Udi problems" outperform those who simply work harder. Effort without insight creates exhaustion, while insight multiplied by action creates efficiency. Efficiency always wins. When you understand this, learning becomes more important than labor. You start asking better questions, testing better ideas, and refining better systems. This approach compounds over time and creates momentum that effort alone can never produce consistently or sustainably across changing economic conditions and evolving industries worldwide. People who focus only on effort often feel entitled to results. This entitlement becomes a hidden weakness. The market does not reward entitlement, it rewards execution. Execution means identifying a real problem, offering a clear solution, and delivering consistently. When effort is not aligned with demand, it creates noise instead of value. This is why busy does not equal productive. Productivity is measured by outcomes, not activity. When you align your work with real needs, resistance decreases. Opportunities begin to appear because you are now relevant. Relevance is the currency that effort alone cannot buy without understanding and intentional alignment with real-world problems and expectations present in the market. Problem solvers think differently about growth. They do not ask how to be noticed. They ask how to be useful. They do not chase applause. They chase effectiveness. This mindset creates calm confidence. Instead of competing for attention, they compete on results. Results speak louder than promotion. When you become known for fixing things, improving systems, or simplifying complexity, people seek you out. Demand replaces chasing. This is the quiet power of problem solving. It builds reputation organically and sustainably. Over time, this reputation compounds into trust, referrals, and opportunities that effort-focused individuals never experience, no matter how hard they work or how loudly they announce their struggle. The marketplace constantly evolves, which means problems constantly change. Those who tie their identity to effort struggle to adapt. Those who tie their identity to learning thrive. Learning allows you to see new problems before others do. Early problem recognition creates advantage. This is why curiosity is more valuable than stamina. Stamina keeps you moving, but curiosity keeps you relevant. Relevant people remain paid. When you study trends, behaviors, and gaps, you position yourself ahead of demand. The market rewards foresight generously because it saves time, money, and resources for others. Being early is a form of value that multiplies returns without increasing effort proportionally. When you fully accept that the marketplace rewards problem solving and not effort or need, responsibility shifts inward. You stop blaming systems and start improving skills. You stop waiting for recognition and start refining results. Every obstacle becomes data instead of discouragement. This perspective creates resilience because setbacks become feedback. You are no longer dependent on fairness. You are empowered by competence. Competence grows through deliberate practice, observation, and adjustment. Over time, this approach transforms work into impact and effort into leverage, positioning you as a solution provider in any environment, economy, or season without relying on sympathy, luck, or permission from others. Most people are trained to believe their income is a direct reflection of the hours they work. From an early age, time becomes the measuring stick for worth. Show up early, stay late, work harder, and eventually you will be rewarded. This thinking feels logical, but it quietly creates a ceiling. Time is finite, predictable, and limited to the same 24 hours for everyone. When income is chained to time, growth becomes linear at best. You can only earn more by sacrificing more hours, more energy, and more life. This model guarantees effort, but never guarantees freedom or scalability over the long run. When value is tied to results instead of time, income becomes elastic. Results can multiply without multiplying hours. One well-designed solution can help thousands of people simultaneously. One clear idea can save others years of confusion. One system can replace repeated labor. This is why outcome-based thinkers ask different questions. They do not ask how long something will take. They ask what outcome it creates. They understand that people do not pay for minutes or hours. They pay for relief, progress, clarity, and transformation. The moment results become the focus, income potential expands beyond personal capacity and enters the realm of leverage and strategic design. Time-based income forces you to be present to earn, while result-based income allows your contribution to work even when you are not. This distinction changes everything. When you sell time, you must constantly be available. When you sell outcomes, your work continues to create impact after the effort is complete. This is why systems, frameworks, and intellectual property matter. They capture value once and distribute it repeatedly. The person who understands this begins designing their work differently. They document processes, refine methods, and package solutions so results can be delivered without constant repetition. This shift turns labor into assets and activity into long-term value engines. Detaching income from time requires a mindset shift from doing to designing. Doing focuses on tasks. Designing focuses on outcomes. Tasks consume energy, but outcomes create momentum. When you design for results, you become intentional about efficiency. You look for ways to reduce friction, simplify steps, and increase effectiveness. This is why experienced professionals earn more than beginners for doing less visible work. They see patterns others miss. They prevent problems instead of reacting to them. Prevention and foresight save massive amounts of time and resources, which the market rewards generously. Results-oriented thinking values insight over intensity and strategy over struggle in every environment and role. Many people resist this idea because time-based income feels safe and familiar. Results-based income feels uncertain because it demands accountability. When pay is tied to hours, responsibility ends when time ends. When pay is tied to outcomes, responsibility extends to effectiveness. This requires confidence in your ability to deliver. It forces growth. You must refine skills, improve judgment, and deepen understanding. This pressure is uncomfortable but powerful. It pushes you to master rather than merely perform. Over time, mastery reduces effort while increasing impact. The more reliable your results become, the more trust you earn. And Rust accelerates income faster than time ever could. Results scale through reach. Time does not. When you focus on results, you naturally think about how far your value can travel. Teaching, digital tools, automation, and delegation become logical next steps. These tools are not shortcuts, they're extensions of impact. They allow one person's insight to help many people at once. This is why scalable value always outpaces manual effort. The marketplace rewards reach because reach amplifies benefit. When one solution improves hundreds of outcomes, compensation follows proportionally. This is not about working less, it is about working differently, so effort compounds instead of resets each day with the clock. When income depends on results, improvement becomes a priority. You constantly ask how outcomes can be made better, faster, or clearer. Feedback becomes valuable instead of threatening. Data replaces emotion. This creates a cycle of refinement. Each iteration improves effectiveness, and each improvement increases demand. Demand shifts power. Instead of negotiating time, you negotiate impact. Instead of justifying hours, you demonstrate outcomes. This positioning changes conversations with clients, employers, and partners. You are no longer seen as a cost, but as an investment. Investments are evaluated by returns, not time spent, which elevates both respect and compensation naturally over time. Detaching income from time ultimately aligns work with contribution. It forces clarity about what truly matters. Busy work loses importance. Meaningful results gain focus. This clarity simplifies decisions. You say no to tasks that do not create outcomes and yes to efforts that ultimately value. Over time, this discipline reshapes your career, your income, and your identity. You stop counting hours and start measuring impact. You stop proving effort and start demonstrating effectiveness. This way of operating creates momentum that continues to build because results, once achieved, create reference points that attract more opportunities, more trust, and more leverage without requiring proportional increases in time or energy. Your income will never consistently rise above the way you see yourself. Identity is the invisible thermostat that regulates what feels normal, possible, and acceptable in your life. If success feels unfamiliar, you will subconsciously push it away. If struggle feels familiar, you will unknowingly recreate it. People do not rise to the level of their goals. They fall to the level of their self-image. This is why sudden increases in income often disappear just as fast. Without an internal upgrade, external gains feel unsafe. Identity determines what you tolerate, what you pursue, and what you believe you deserve, shaping every financial decision long before money ever appears in your hands. Every action you take is an expression of who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who survives, you make survival decisions. If you see yourself as someone who leads, you make leadership decisions. Financial outcomes are not random, they are consistent with identity. People who identify as learners invest in growth. People who identify as victims look for rescue. Identity influences risk tolerance, confidence, communication, and follow through. Two people can have the same opportunity and produce completely different results because they interpret it through different identities. The inner narrative always writes the outer story, quietly directing choices that compound into income patterns over time. Many people try to change results without changing identity. They set goals, chase strategies, and copy tactics while carrying the same self-concept. This creates internal conflict. New behaviors feel forced and temporary because they are not aligned with how the person sees themselves. Lasting financial growth requires identity alignment. When your identity expands, new behaviors feel natural instead of exhausting. You stop needing motivation because your actions match who you believe you are. This is why personal growth is not optional for wealth creation. Money simply amplifies identity. It reveals who you already are rather than transforming you into someone new overnight. Identity is shaped through repeated evidence. Every promise kept to yourself strengthens it. Every promise broken weakens it. Small decisions matter because they send signals to the mind. When you consistently follow through, you begin to trust yourself. Trust builds confidence. Confidence fuels better decisions. Better decisions create better outcomes. This cycle reinforces a stronger identity. Wealthy identity is not about arrogance. It is about responsibility. It is the belief that you can learn, adapt, and deliver results. This belief makes challenges feel manageable instead of threatening. When difficulty no longer shakes identity, progress accelerates naturally without constant emotional resistance. Language plays a powerful role in identity formation. The words you use to describe yourself shape perception and behavior. Saying, "I am bad with money," trains the mind to act accordingly. Saying, "I am learning to manage money," opens the door to improvement. Identity listens to repetition. The stories you tell yourself become instructions. Over time, those instructions become habits. Habits become outcomes. Changing financial results requires changing internal dialogue first. This is not positive thinking. It is accurate thinking. You are not fixed. You are adaptive. When identity shifts from limitation to growth, behavior follows without force or constant self-discipline battles. Environment also reinforces identity. People often underestimate how surroundings shape self-image. If everyone around you thinks small, small thinking feels normal. If growth is rare in your environment, ambition feels risky. Identity strengthens in environments that reflect possibility. This is why exposure matters. New standards recalibrate what feels achievable. Seeing others operate at higher levels expands internal permission. You begin to see success as accessible rather than exceptional. This shift changes how you show up. You speak differently, prepare differently, and expect differently. Expectations influence performance. Performance reinforces identity. The cycle continues either upward or downward, depending on the environment you consistently choose. Identity determines how you handle setbacks. Those with fragile identities interpret failure as proof they are not capable. Those with strong identities interpret failure as information. This difference determines longevity. Financial growth requires experimentation, and experimentation guarantees mistakes. If mistakes threaten identity, progress stops. If mistakes refine identity, growth accelerates. Resilient identity separates self-worth from outcomes. You remain stable while adjusting strategy. This stability allows learning to continue under pressure. Over time, this creates quiet confidence. Confidence attracts trust. Trust attracts opportunity. Opportunity increases income. The process looks external, but it is driven internally by identity strength rather than circumstances or luck. When identity evolves, priorities change. You stop chasing validation and start building competence. You stop comparing and start committing. You stop reacting and start designing. These shifts compound. You naturally invest more in skill development, health, relationships, and systems because your identity demands it. Higher standards become non-negotiable. You no longer wait for permission to grow. Growth becomes part of who you are. As identity rises, income follows because your behavior now supports higher levels of responsibility, value creation, and leadership in every area you touch without needing constant external pressure or reminders. Beliefs are the silent architects of every financial outcome you experience. Long before money shows up or disappears, beliefs decide what feels possible. If you believe opportunities are scarce, you will overlook them even when they appear. If you believe money is difficult to earn, you will unconsciously choose harder paths. Beliefs act like filters, shaping what you notice and what you ignore. They determine which risks feel reasonable and which feel terrifying. Most people never question their beliefs, yet those beliefs quietly direct their lives. Income is not random. It is the predictable outcome of internal agreements you have made with yourself over time. Decisions are the visible expressio, N of belief. You do not decide based on facts alone, you decide based on what you believe those facts mean. Two people can face the same situation and choose opposite paths because their beliefs interpret reality differently. One sees danger, the other sees opportunity. One hesitates, the other acts. Decisions feel logical, but they are emotional confirmations of belief. When beliefs are limited, decisions are defensive. When beliefs expand, decisions become strategic. Every financial turning point begins with a decision that feels uncomfortable because it challenges an old belief and introduces a new standard of thinking and behavior into your life. Actions are simply decisions put into motion. Repeated actions form patterns, and patterns create results. When beliefs are weak, actions are inconsistent. You start strong and stop early. You plan but delay. You learn but never implement. These patterns produce predictable income ceilings. Strong beliefs create decisive action. You move even when conditions are imperfect. You adjust instead of quitting. Action fueled by belief carries momentum. Momentum compounds. This is why discipline often fails without belief. You cannot force yourself into consistent action if your beliefs are arguing against you internally. Alignment between belief and action removes resistance and allows effort to produce meaningful progress. Income is the scoreboard, not the game. It reflects the quality of beliefs, decisions, and actions over time. Many people try to fix income directly by changing tactics while leaving beliefs untouched. This creates temporary spikes followed by regression. Sustainable income growth requires internal change first. When beliefs upgrade, decisions naturally improve. When decisions improve, actions become more focused. Focused action produces better results. The system is simple but unforgiving. You cannot skip steps. Every shortcut attempt eventually reveals the weakest link, which is almost always belief. Strengthening belief strengthens the entire chain that leads to higher income and stability. Beliefs are formed through repetition and evidence. Whatever you repeatedly experience or tell yourself becomes believable. If you repeatedly quit when things get difficult, you build a belief that difficulty means stop. If you repeatedly push through discomfort, you build a belief that difficulty means growth. Each response trains the mind. This training shapes future decisions automatically. Over time, beliefs become so familiar they feel like facts. This is why awareness matters. You must notice patterns before you can change them. The moment you see a belief clearly, it loses some of its control and choice becomes possible again. Changing beliefs does not require dramatic events. It requires consistent proof. Small wins are powerful because they challenge old narratives. Every completed task, every kept promise, every improved result adds evidence. Evidence reshapes belief. As belief shifts, confidence grows. Confidence changes how you speak, negotiate, and present ideas. This influences how others respond to you. External feedback then reinforces internal belief. The loop strengthens. This is how momentum builds quietly. Income growth looks sudden from the outside, but internally it has been prepared through months or years of belief reinforcement and behavioral alignment beneath the surface. Poor decisions are rarely the result of lack of intelligence. They are usually the result of unexamined beliefs. Fear-based beliefs produce safe decisions that limit growth. Growth-based beliefs produce bold decisions that expand capacity. Every decision either reinforces your current identity or challenges it. Challenging decisions feel risky but necessary. Comfortable decisions feel safe but stagnant. Over time, these choices compound into vastly different outcomes. The gap between average and exceptional income is often nothing more than a series of belief-driven decisions made consistently over time, quietly shaping direction, while others focus only on surface-level effort and activity. When beliefs, decisions, and actions align, income becomes predictable. You stop relying on motivation and start relying on systems. You trust your process because it reflects who you are becoming. Setbacks lose emotional power because they no longer threaten identity. They become data points. This clarity creates calm, Persistence. Calm persistence outlasts talent, luck, and intensity. The person who believes growth is inevitable keeps moving forward even when results lag. Eventually, income catches up because it must reflect sustained, aligned action. This alignment is not luck or magic. It is cause and effect operating consistently in your favor over time. Becoming the right person is the foundation of earning more money because money amplifies who you already are. If habits are weak, money exposes weakness. If discipline is inconsistent, money magnifies chaos. Many people focus on increasing income without increasing capacity. Capacity is your ability to manage responsibility, pressure, and opportunity without self-destruction. When income rises faster than character, stress follows. When character grows first, income feels natural. Growth begins internally through self-control, integrity, patience, and consistency. These traits determine how you show up when no one is watching. The marketplace rewards reliability long before it rewards visibility or ambition. Personal development is not optional, it is preparation. Skills bring opportunity, but character sustains it. Without emotional maturity, financial growth creates instability. Becoming the right person means learning to manage emotions, time, energy, and focus. It means showing up even when motivation fades. People who earn more consistently are not always smarter, they are steadier. They make fewer impulsive decisions. They delay gratification. They understand long-term thinking. These qualities compound quietly. Money flows toward people who can handle it without panic or recklessness. Stability attracts opportunity because ears trust what feels predictable and grounded rather than exciting but unreliable behavior patterns. Earning more requires handling more responsibility. Responsibility demands growth in thinking, communication, and decision-making. If you avoid responsibility, income remains limited. Becoming the right person means accepting ownership over outcomes instead of blaming conditions. Ownership creates learning. Learning improves judgment. Improved judgment leads to better choices. Better choices produce better results. This progression cannot be rushed. People who want income without responsibility create problems for themselves and others. Those who prepare internally attract opportunities externally. The world looks for people who can solve problems calmly under pressure. Calm competence is rare, and rarity is always rewarded over time in every industry. Becoming the right person also means refining how you think. Thinking determines direction. If thinking is reactive, results are unstable. If thinking is intentional, results are repeatable. Intentional thinkers pause before acting. They gather information. They consider consequences. This protects them from emotional mistakes that cost money. Strong thinking habits create financial resilience. Resilience allows recovery from setbacks without panic. Panic destroys progress. Those who earn more long-term know how to stay centered during uncertainty. This steadiness builds trust. Trust brings opportunities that skill alone cannot secure. People prefer working with those who think clearly when conditions are unclear. Growth in income requires growth in discipline. Discipline is doing what matters even when it feels inconvenient. Without discipline, income leaks through poor habits. Small financial decisions reveal personal discipline levels. Becoming the right person means aligning daily behavior with long-term vision. Consistency beats intensity. Intensity burns out. Consistency compounds. Compounding transforms effort into momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence changes how you communicate value. People respond to confidence rooted in preparation, not arrogance. Preparation is invisible but powerful. When preparation meets opportunity, income rises smoothly instead of violently. Smooth growth is sustainable growth that does not require constant recovery from self-inflicted damage. Character determines how you respond to success. Some people sabotage progress because success feels unfamiliar. Becoming the right person prepares you emotionally for expansion. Expansion brings new challenges, expectations, and pressure. Without inner readiness, success becomes overwhelming. The right person sees growth as responsibility, not validation. They do not chase approval, they focus on contribution. Contribution attracts income naturally. This mindset protects against ego-driven decisions. Ego creates shortcuts. Shortcuts create consequences. Those who grow internally respect process. Process protects results. Respecting process keeps progress steady. Steady progress builds confidence in others, which increases demand for your presence, perspective, and solutions. Becoming the right person includes learning how to communicate clearly. Income follows clarity. Confused communication reduces trust. Clear communication signals competence. Competence signals value. Value attracts compensation. People, who earn more express ideas simply and confidently. They listen well. They ask better questions. They understand others before offering solutions. This emotional intelligence cannot be faked. It comes from maturity and self-awareness. Self-awareness grows through reflection and feedback. Reflection refines behavior. Refined behavior improves relationships. Strong relationships expand opportunities. Opportunities increase income. The chain always begins internally, not externally, even when it appears otherwise on the surface. Money follows growth, not the other way around. When you become someone who can manage complexity, income has space to enter. Space is created through discipline, clarity, responsibility, and consistency. These traits shape reputation. Reputation precedes opportunity. People talk about reliability before they talk about results. Results matter, but reliability multiplies results. Becoming the right person is a daily process of alignment. Alignment between values and actions. Alignment between intention and behavior. When alignment exists, effort produces impact. Impact attracts compensation. This process removes desperation and replaces it with direction. Direction keeps you moving forward regardless of temporary outcomes or delays.